Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. What if Naruto was sealed with Kekkei Genkai in wave and became a godlike shinobi with the ultimate harem, Fu times Hinata times Haku times Tayuya, Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. Now let's start the fanfic. The Hokage's office. The Sandaime blinked. Out of nowhere, the leader of perhaps the most paranoid of all ninja villages, offering up their own Jinchuriki, and his cousin at that. The Sandaime had been told for ages that anything too good to be true, wasn't true. Did it matter if it was him winning the Land of Earth's lottery, or free Ika Ika for the next 5 volumes, these offers were always fake, or had a catch to them. Shibuki Dono, may I ask, why are you offering to give up this Fu, your cousin and your village's Jinchuriki? I believe you are aware of our own Jinchuriki. Yes, Naruto Uzumaki. Quote. Correct, and despite the wishes of the civilian council, I've tried to make his life as good as possible. Like finding the most trustworthy banker to protect his account and trust funds from Jiraiya, as well as to guard his parents' old funds, and helping Naruto gain a rather decent apartment. Of course, it would be easier to just cut the civilian and elder councils off the equation, but it was an old law dating back to the days of the Shodai, that the civilians were to have a say in the village government. Of course, the only ones who got into power were the ones who wanted to control the ninja for their own agendas. Shibuki sighed. Sandaime Dono, I wish this wasn't true, but compared to your Jinchuriki, Fu has lived a horrible life. Aside from me and my father, no one in the village cares about her. Everyone knows what she has sealed within her, unlike what you've done here, and can't look past it. My father, and later myself, had to privately tutor ourselves for her to even get the training of one of your academy students. She can't even go out for a walk without being verbally and even at times physically abused. Heck, probably the only reason she hasn't been raped is because the people are afraid she'd reproduce. He was shaking in anger. I just want to see her happy, and she won't be happy in Takigakure. A village leader should really hold his emotions in greater control. Danzo muttered. At the same time, we can use this as a show of trust. We show our trust to you by sending over the person who can potentially become Taki's greatest kunoichi, and you can send something to us of equal value. I can't ask you to take the Uchiha, can I? No. Oh, worth a try. The Sandaime blew on his pipe. Speaking of, we need to figure out some sort of punishment that bypasses the laws of the civilian and elder councils as a way to punish that fool for his behavior. I believe both of us are in agreement that the Uchiha should not be made a chunin. Danzo commented. The Hokage nodded. Troublesome, I agree with that point. Shikaku shrugged. We could use that option. The Sandaime was referring to making it public the Uchiha's plans and removing Itachi's missing nin status. While risky, this could make it so Itachi would be the new Uchiha head, and the votes would be rebalanced again. That won't work. The troublesome council will twist that into their advantage. Shikaku sighed. For instance, they could say that the Uchiha were manipulated by residual demon energy or some other crap like that, and deal away with Naruto. They were crafty that way. You could just give Naruto his house. Shibuki suggested. The Sandaime thought about it for a minute, before he turned towards Shikaku, who was grinning. Or, better yet, the entire Uchiha district. Back to the brawl. Konoha streets. Sakura lay on the ground, Uchiha fans flying around her head. Tyuki, with a frying pan in hand, sighed. You know, I swear ninja standards are dropping daily. Ayame, back in the day, You could find academy students in their second year with better reaction time than this lump of pink mush. Sadly, only Tsuki was having any luck in the fight. As it was, while Sakura and Sasuke were both spoiled brats, Sasuke was a skilled spoiled brat, and his guardians the elder bats had found their way here, as if they didn't have enough problems already. Ice release. Ice spikes. Haku sent spikes of sharp ice straight at Sasuke in an attempt to maim him. He laughed. Fire release. Dragon fire jutsu. A dragon made of flames was spewed out of Sasuke's mouth, and quickly melted the ice, before flying straight at Haku. Storm release. Great twister. Naruto jumped in between Haku and Sasuke, taking the blaze into the twister. Sasuke stared wide-eyed at the now flaming vortex. Storm release. Flaming twister. A flaming vortex slammed into Sasuke, sending him crashing to the ground. The council behind him began yelling insults. How dare you strike a clan heir? Freak. You should give those jutsu to Uchiha-sama. You are all idiots. Naruto yelled as the twister dissolved and he landed on the ground. Even if that so-called Sama of yours was any good, he can't copy any of mine or Haku's jutsu. The council just got angrier. Then change that. And why should we listen to you inbred fat bastards anyway? This shouting match continued until one of the dumber, fatter merchants yelled out. How dare you oppose our will you, demon. Naruto's eyes twitched, as did Haku's, Tsuki's and Ayame's. While Sakura was out cold and couldn't hear that comment, Sasuke did. Huh, what's this about the Dobi and demons? The council member was about to answer that, until he felt a sharp pain on his back, and collapsed to the ground. Hidden Shadow Snake Hand. The man had been bitten in the back by a dozen poisonous snakes, which retreated into the arm of a rather ticked-off kunoichi, with purple hair, blandish brown eyes, a brown overcoat and some sort of mesh suit. Sasuke for some reason shivered at the sight of her. Oh great, it's her. Homura grumbled. It was Anko Mitarashi, the student of Orochimaru, known by many names, the Dango Serpent Mistress, the #1 hyperactive knucklehead kunoichi, and the kunoichi most likely to kill someone with a glare. And she was not amused. Okay. What the hell is going on here? Breaking the laws, attacking civilians and ninja, looks like I have to drag you all to interrogation. Sasuke shivered, he didn't have fond memories of that place. Get out of here, Mitarashi. This is justice for Uchiha-sama being denied scrolls that should be his. Kaharu yelled. Sakura's mom decided to add. This is a civilian matter as well, so be gone snake whore. That ticked her off. Snake. Whore. Summoning jutsu. Anko, now seriously angry, summoned a giant black, yellow-striped snake the width of an average pickup truck. The council fled for their lives, pursued by the large snake. Anko laughed. Those idiots, it's just a harmless giant gardener snake. Well, that's them, now then Uchiha-kun. He shivered at the tone, it was disturbing. Give me a reason why I shouldn't show you that trick of mine involving Fluffy the tabby and the stick of butter again. Once, Sasuke had been to interrogation and saw Anko at work there. Ever since, he was terrified of any of her overkill ways of torture. That particular torture was too horrible to think about. Because, I am rescuing powerful artifacts from an enemy kunoichi and some sort of demon. Anko smiled evilly. Wrong answer, kid. Fire release. Fire snakes. Anko breathed in deeply, before unleashing 2 snakes made of fire straight at Sasuke. The snakes lunged. Water release. Syrup capture field. A wave of sticky water flew from Sasuke's mouth, trapping the fire snakes in some sort of glue. They cried out before smoking out. Damn. Anko growled before avoiding a drop kick from the bastard, before giving him a side kick, to find the boy flickering out. It was the basic clone jutsu. Thanks for the trick, by the way, snake whore. Fire release, fire snakes. A single fire snake flew from Sasuke's mouth and struck Anko, knocking her into the sticky trap. This singed through her net clothing, luckily not anything major, but her stomach was no longer covered. Sasuke smirked, loving how this village had all sorts of strong and attractive kunoichi that would be used to revive his clan. Ice release. Ice spikes. Sasuke's gloating ended only seconds before he got impaled, the water from his own jutsu freezing into the attack. Fire release. Great Fireball Jutsu. Lightning release. Thunder Ball Jutsu. The two attacks from Naruto and Sasuke collided in the air, releasing an explosion. Sasuke was briefly distracted by the explosion, before Naruto came up from behind him and gave him a kick to the. Sasuke flew into the air from the intensity, before he turned around. Fire release. Phoenix Sage Fire Technique. Dozens of small fires flew at Naruto from below. He was impaled, before poofing. It was a shadow clone. Dobi. I will have that jutsu if nothing else. Don't think so. Lightning release. 1000 years of pain. Sasuke suddenly felt violated as Naruto performed Kakashi's joke jutsu, but with a slight twist. An electric charge had been added. With a yelp that could scare a dragon, Sasuke was catapulted into the air and fell to the ground, twitching with electric chakra. Tsuki was laughing, as the poor boy was rubbing his and forcing himself up. Dobi, you violated me. Hey, it's an actual technique in the data books, another patented Naruto jutsu. I'll sell scrolls of these. Oh, just imagine that an ice release. Naruto, I am not. What? For all I know Taizun and thus me might have it. Good point. Naruto laughed, before he found himself frozen, as did Haku. I can't move. Both his and Haku's shadows were connected to Sasuke's, who was up and grinning. Dobes, you can't hope to beat me. That Shitamaru may be a worthless, as is his entire clan, but this shadow possession is going to be fun. He activated a Chidori. Now, Dai Dobi. He ran at Naruto, charging the jutsu as both Haku and Naruto were forced to run towards him due to the shadow possession. Though before he could kill them with it, two things happened. First, he felt a sharp strike to his back, like some sort of reinforced poke. Second, something bit his leg. A snake. Sasuke's justice broke, as he collapsed to the ground. Haku and Naruto sighed in relief. It was then they got a chance to see their saviors. One was obvious, the snake had come from the escaped Anko. The other was a blue-haired, pale-eyed girl who was glaring at Sasuke with a look of fury that could give Ibiki chills. Hinata-san, Naruto said shocked. She smiled nervously, before poking her fingers together. Oh, hey, Naruto-kun. Haku had seen this girl around before, almost stalking Naruto. And while it was nice to see that at least one girl in this town didn't worship Duckhead, having competition for her Naruto-kun was annoying. How dare you hit me with your filthy Hyuga hands and your disgusting snakes, you whores. You are impeding justice on the Dobi. All four of the figures still upturned and glared at him. Now, normally you could find mice that were more vicious than Hinata, being that she was probably the nicest and shyest of the kunoichi. Arguably, she could probably get swamped with date requests if she didn't wear that jacket of hers. However, some things easily ticked her off. The first thing would be someone eating her cinnamon buns. Another would be asking if she was a boy. But the worst thing you could do near her was insult Naruto. After all, ever hear the saying, hell have no wrath like a woman scorned. And with Sume on the scene now, growling, that made for scorned woman. So, you think you can steal hidden jutsu, shrimp. Sume picked up the Uchiha by the scruff and held him up to her eyesight. Sasuke then did perhaps the dumbest thing he could have possibly done. Put me down, you imbird mutt. Don't you have a bitch to or something? Apparently, Sasuke thought this was Kiba's dad. For that mistake, he was sent flying into a wall that promptly collapsed. The gathered females, meanwhile, cracked their knuckles. What happened next was a beating so terrifying, I can't describe it with words. Thus, Naruto decided he would never, ever tick off a girl, ever. A day later, Hokage's office. With Sakura out with a concussion, and Sasuke still in the ER of a civilian hospital, the only one that would take him, we find Naruto, Haku, Hinata, Hiashi, Sume, Shikaku, Anko and Tyuki in the office of the Hokage. Because of what had happened, and the still annoyed council, Sume had offered to let Naruto and Haku stay the night at her place. Terrified of upsetting her, they agreed. The old man blew on his pipe, before beginning. This is a disaster. The entire town has divided. Now everyone either hates you, or worships the ground you walk on. The conspirators are in hiding. Both the civilian and elder councils have been barred from gathering until a month after the upcoming Chunin exams, and while the law protects you from having to pay for the life you took, Anko-san, please don't do it again. I've gotten over a dozen letters demanding your removal just for that incident. The special Jonin grinned. Only 12. That's a little low. Sume found herself respecting this woman even more. And while Kakashi is no longer being tortured, the poor guy is going to need some therapy to recover. Monies from both Kaharu's and Homura's estates have been moved to his account as damages. And now, for the Uchiha's punishment, which is the reason why I've called you all here. While the civilian and elder council think they have covered all their bases, such as his ninja rank, the Chunin exams and his Sharingan, I've managed to grab several mute points. First and foremost, the Uchiha funds in the bank are no more, all paid off as damages to the Nara, Inuzuka, Uzumaki, and Momoichi accounts as sizable amounts. The rest of it is being held in a new account in case he has stolen any other clan jutsu. Next, deeds of the Uchiha have been liquidated to you all. While the police powers are still with the civilians, their proxy vote control of the Uchiha seats have been removed, and replaced with a seat for the head of the Hyuga branch family. Hiashi nodded. While not gleaming with happiness, inside he was pleased. Now the branch family had a say in their fate, in a way that the elders of his clan couldn't stop. After all, influencing a council vote by way of controlling seals was punishable by death. And the former Uchiha district is now in the possession of Naruto Uzumaki. This was the shocker. Everyone looked at him in shock and surprise. What? Naruto-kun, most of Sasuke's aggressive actions has been against you and Haku-san, and because of a little law they placed, a shinobi from another village who hasn't been in Konoha for at least a year can't own property. At the same time, the civilian council hates you, so this is the perfect way to tick them off. Guess that's true, but wait, what about Ichiraku's? The Sandaime sighed. Sadly, I'm unable to stop them from demolishing it, also. Oh yeah, Tyuki-sama, how'd you like to open Ichiraku's in my new part of town? Tyuki was wide-eyed. Naruto-kun, you'd do that? How much? For free, of course. Tyuki hugged the boy in glee. This boy could probably pay for all his expenses from his ramen habits anyway. The Sandame smiled. Only Naruto would be that generous. Wait, does that mean I'm Sasuke Tem's landlord? No, he's kicked out of his house, and well, you were as well. The civilians foreclosed your place, Naruto gulped. They did what? Haku was thankful they still had their stuff. But don't worry, we already are preparing a place for you three to stay. Now everyone was looking confused. 3. Why, of course, your new teammate is going to live with you too. You are to escort Shibuki Dono, head of Takigakure, to meet her and bring her here, as part of your new team with her and Haku. Naruto had his mouth wide open, and Haku and Hinata were mentally thinking, oh great, a new rival. Konoha. Training Ground 3 the next day. The third training ground, where the failure of a team, the original Team 7, had their first test. A test which got our beloved orange-wearing ninja tied to a post. But instead of finding either Kakashi, who was currently getting therapy, Naruto, who had just left with Shibuki and Haku to find Fu, or the team of Sasuke, Sakura and Sai, as Sasuke was still in the Sakura was in hysterics after hearing what had happened to the Uchiha fortunes, and now the council was drawing up some sort of Save the Uchiha fund, and Sai, no one had any idea where he was. Instead, this training ground found itself in the presence of the much more stable Team 8, Hinata Hyuga, the tall, mysterious shade-wearing Shino Aburame and the fur jacket, wild-looking Kiba Inuzuka, and his small white puppy Akamaru. They were waiting for their Jonin sensei, the strange-dressing, odd-eyed Karania Yuhi. Strange things are stirring, Shino commented to break the silence. Kiba smirked. Hell yeah, they are Shino-san, and I fail to see the problem with any of them. Sasuke is dirt poor and in the hospital. We finally have enough money for a pool, and with Team 7 all messed up, I doubt we'll have to worry about them in the Chunin exams. Hinata looked away, and Kiba quickly edited what he said. I mean, Sasuke Tem and Sakura-san are probably not going to be in the Chunin exams. Now most people would think that Kiba was a womanizer, based off his dog-like looks and behavior. That was far from the case. His mother was one of the most terrifying kunoichi in the village, per has the entire shinobi world. There's a reason his dad ran for the hills, and it may have involved a dress, a tomato and pack mentality. In addition, he was one of Naruto's old friends, dating back to before he even met Akamaru. Because of that, he was probably one of the reasons that Naruto didn't end up like the Jinchuriki of Suna, as in an insane bloodthirsty maniac, in addition to people like Iruka, the Sandyame, Choji and Shikamaru. That, and he was one of the few people to ever see, and survive against an enraged Hinata, when Akamaru ate Hinata's last cinnamon bun. The poor puppy was nearly neutered before Hinata calmed down, apologized, and cried her eyes out. Oh, that's okay, Kiba-san, she smiled nervously, poking her fingers together. Kiba had a devious smirk. While he knew quite well not to enrage Hinata, teasing her about her feelings, provided he didn't insult Naruto of course. So, I hear you have some competition, Hinata-chan, she looked at him in surprise nervously. I mean, I can tell you like Naruto-san, I can smell it. But the thing is, I can smell Haku-san has feelings for him just the same as you do, and knowing Naruto, I bet that the new teammate he's gone off to get will like him too, if she's female. Wonder if you'll be able to snag yourself your little crush. Hinata was blushing. Kiba-san, she was looking glum again. Kiba sighed. Hinata-chan, I was kidding, oh that came out wrong. Obviously. Shino-san, if you're such an expert, you fix it. Shino just stared in his creepy fashion. Kiba-san, I am not an expert on females, unless they are insects. You got yourself into this mess, it's your job to fix it, Kiba glared, before trying a different approach. Hinata-chan, the best way to make sure you get Naruto, just be yourself, talk to him, and I guess if you beat Haku in the Chunin exams that might help. Hinata looked as though she was getting an idea. A rush of leaves then alerted them to the arrival of Kurenai. Kurenai-sensei, Hinata asked nervously. The Genjutsu queen smiled. Yes, Hinata-chan. Well, you know, how Naruto-kun, has those water release, and lightning, release, could you, teach me some of those, too? Meanwhile in Taki, Hero's Water Chamber. The hidden chamber of the hero's water, one of the world's most powerful substances. Taken from an ancient tree that dates back to before the time of the ninja villages once every 100 years, this water is enriched with chakra to a point a single sip can give the drinker the power equal to opening 2 chakra gates. The water is why Taki has never been invaded successfully. However, the water also cuts the user's lifespan by how much one drinks. A sip takes a year, a gulp takes 5, and the entire container would kill anyone. This water was highly sought after, so defending it is Shibuki's most sacred duty. And with him gone, the duty was currently on another, his cousin Fu. Well, she wasn't told to defend it, but the minute Shibuki left, a few of the dumber shinobi tried to break in, so she was hiding out here. No one but Shibuki knew she had any idea where the water was, or where it was at all for that matter. Fu had tan skin, and mint green hair, with orange eyes. She wore a short white midriff shirt, with the bottom edged with fishnet armor. A Taki Hi-8 was on her arm, the opposite side Shikimaru wore it on, though to her the only reason she wore the thing was because she was loyal to Shibuki, and not the dumb S in the village. Also on her arms were white armlets. She was wearing a similar pair of shorts to her shirt, with a red cylinder container leaning up against the wall that belonged to her. As of now, she had her eyes closed, as if trying to take a break, when out of nowhere, loud splashes were heard, waking her up. Out of nowhere, 3 teenagers with ugly brown potato sack-like clothing and odd water mask things on their mouths. Their headbands had the symbol of a megakure, the village hidden in the rain. Fu stood up immediately, glaring at the strange people. Who the hell are you clowns? Fu demanded. The fools glared at her. We are Team Oboro, give us the hero's water and we'll allow you to live. Our god wishes to have it, Fu grinned. A god? Really? Do you actually believe in that trash? Trust me boys, if gods did exist, let's just say I wouldn't be this dump of a village's scapegoat. However, this hero's water is the property of Shibuki-sama, so buzz off, before I stick those stupid respirators of yours up yours. The ugly aim Genin glared. I was hoping you'd say that. Water style, water wyvern bullet. A small water dragon rose from the water port they had come from and flew straight at Fu, who grinned. You see, Jinchuriki abelites often were dependent on the tailed beast inside of them. For example, Roshi, the Jinchuriki of the Yonbi, or 4-tailed monkey, gained lava release from his beast. Gaara of the desert gained sand and wind abelites from the Ikibi, Shukaku, and Killer Bee gained the ability to spit out ink from the Hachibe or the giant ox squid thing. Fu's beast was the Sanbi, the 7-tailed horn beetle. And while the beast wasn't a lava-launching monkey or a sand-controlling raccoon, it did have one thing. Massive strength. Fu jumped the air and smashed into the beast, causing it to disintegrate from the impact. The 3 Rain Genin panicked. What is she? Tsunade of the Sannin. One of them said in amazement, before he felt a kick to the nuts that sent him flying into the wall. Water release. Tornado of water. A maelstrom of water surrounded Fu, that smashed into the second and third genin, knocking the three into the walls. In fear, the genin jumped into the water and swam away. She stretched her arms and sighed. That wasn't even a little bit entertaining. Kill them. Shut it, you oversized bug. The seal that Fu had, while nowhere as weak as Gaara's, wasn't as powerful as Naruto's either. The seven tails could still speak to her, and it got really annoying. You're too soft. They attacked you, they die. So what? They attacked the village, not my problem. More splashes were heard as Fu turned and to her surprise saw dozens of rain ninja emerge into the chamber. And leading them was a black-haired, creepy man. Suian-san. Ah, if it isn't the insect. Funny finding you here, planning on grabbing the hero's water yourself. Can't say I blame you, both you and I can agree this group of huts isn't worth much, though I can't understand why a freak like you would stay here. Fu growled. This is Shibuki-sama's home, and while I don't care a damn for the village, I'm not going to abandon him, Suian laughed. Oh, you care about Shibuki-kun eh? The coward isn't good for anything except as a figurehead. Now hand over the hero's water, and when the villagers blame you for its theft, I'll give you a day's head start. Fu grinned evilly before closing her eyes. Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not happening today. Suddenly, a red bubbling sound could be heard as a red aura surrounded Fu. It took the rough shape of a horn beetle, a giant horn of red chakra adorning Fu's head. One wing-like protrusion poked out of the chakra from her back. Opening her eyes, Fu's eyes were now golden yellow. Unlike Naruto, Fu had received some training in how to control her powers from Shibuki's dad. Because of it, she could control one tail of her full power, and use it. What the hell is she? And then, all hell broke loose as he was smashed by an arm of painful red chakra. Meanwhile in the fox's seal, the fox sniffed the air, and it picked up a familiar scent. The Nanbi's chakra. The oversized vixen smirked. It appeared the Nanbi had a host who'd use her power. Why didn't she have a Jinchuriki who'd use her power? Perhaps it was that additional seal. The seal, while holding from her host what the fox could smell 8 more Kekkei Genkai for now, also seemed to be doing something else. The seal was slowly returning her yin chakra. The chakra that the Yondiame, who she had a picture of now alongside the shodais that she found, had sealed within himself. This was slowly increasing both her own, and Naruto's power. The seal also was binding the traits to the boy's genetic structures. The traits could also be passed, should the boy ever get the brains to choose a mate. Wait, if the boy got married, did that make the Kyuubi a lesbian? Urg, once she got out, she'd need to raise a small country. Whoever this Taizun was, he seemed to be a master of seals, and only one clan was that skilled with seals. The Uzumaki. Taizun might be a remnant of the old clan. Back to actual reality, the traveling trio of Shibuki, Naruto and Haku found themselves in a village under attack. Hundreds of AIM ninja were actively attacking. This was to native of war. You guys, you need to protect the hero's water, go. Shibuki ordered. Naruto and Haku were aghast. But, these ninja are swarming all over the place, you guys are being overwhelmed. Shibuki sighed. The ninja attacking are AIM ninja from the land of rain. As it is, it appears there will be war between AIM and Taki. If you guys participate, that will only draw Konoha into the war. I don't want to be known in history as the man who led to the Fourth Shinobi World War. Fu must be with the hero's water, it's hidden under the tree, go. The two genin begrudgingly ran for it. Shibuki glared at the invading AIM ninja. Water release. Water dragon bullet. A giant dragon made of water swamped the battlefield, blowing away several rain nin. So, this is the leader of this hut-infested dump, EH. The commander turned to find that 100 rain ninja had surrounded him. Where they all were coming from, Shibuki had no idea, before he saw their commander. The commander had striking orange hair, with ringed, purple eyes, and multiple body piercings. He wore a strange necklace, that looked somehow familiar. It was the Diva Path of Pain. The AIM ninja bowed before the being. Our God. Shibuki had a sweat drop. God. The figure fixed a look at Shibuki. I have come for your Jinchuriki and the hero's water. Give them up, and we leave. He was about to continue before a trashed fruit stand's apple suddenly rose up and split into pieces, before flying at the Diva Path. With a strange jutsu, the apples were restrained and collapsed as if crushed. So, better than the apple shuriken, Diva. Wind release. Drilling air bullet. A harsh blast of wind flew from above and struck into the surrounding rain ninja, killing some while blowing the rest away. Jumping down following the air bullet, was Taizun. Who are you, and how did you get into this village? Shibuki demanded. Taizun smirked under his haunted disguise. The same as they did, you should improve your security, perhaps get yourselves a giant squid or sea serpent or something. These guys all have air apparatuses for breathing underwater, and this guy doesn't even have to breath. He glared at the Diva Path. But, seeing as though we both have a common foe in this guy's group, we might as well take care of him. Water release. Water bullet. And so the battle began. Meanwhile on the lake, Haku and Naruto dashed towards the lake, as a massive explosion flew from the lake. A girl with green hair and tanned skin was blasted out from below, before crashing and floating on the water, too exhausted to move. A man with spiky black hair and a blue aura rose up from the same place as well, WTIH a jug of clear water in his hands. So, you little insect, that was pretty impressive of you. That power of yours is definitely something, taking out those rain ninja, but luckily the last one happened to have a chakra-canceling seal. No. Now without your bug's help, you're squashed. The man flew at the girl with an intent to kill, as the girl forced herself up as if to try to defend. Ice release. Ice manicles. The man found himself restrained by ice. Fu stared in shock. Why would these strangers help her? Lightning release. Thunder ball. Naruto formed a ball of lightning in his hands before sending it straight at the man, who had just broke out of the cuffs. The attack sent him flying back as the two-leaf genin ran to the downed Jinchuriki. You okay? Naruto asked, before the girl forced herself up, before collapsing back down. She cursed. That seal may have been removed, but her chakra was still destabilized. However, I'm fine, she obviously lied, with a tone colder than Haku's ice release. Though, from what Shibuki had said, that was kind of expected. The man however wasn't done. So, helping the little monster, well, prepare to find out what happens to demon lovers. Takigaku's secret water release, water sword. A sword of water formed in the mon's hand as he flew at terrifying speeds. Oh no you don't. Water release, great breakthrough. Ice release. Senbon shower. A giant wave and hundreds of ice needles flew straight at the man, who broke through them like they were nothing. What? Genjutsu. Paralysis. Haku and Naruto yelped as they lost feeling in their limbs. Die. He flew and swiped his sword, in aim at the still defenseless Fu. She stared in horror, like a deer in headlights, waiting for the blow that never came. Because Naruto had forced himself in the way of the attack, overpowering the genjutsu, but now having a water sword sticking out of his gut. Naruto-kun. Haku gasped. Fu was stunned. This complete stranger took a mortal blow for her. Humped. Kid, that was stupid. But be glad to say you died today by the hand of the mighty Suian. The man laughed, until he noticed that Naruto was glowing orange. He was shocked, as was Fu. He's just like me. That chakra, it's the Kyubbi. While inside the seal, another of the links on the seal glowed, before revealing a new kanji, aura. While outside, the wound was healing, while a ball of blue chakra was forming in Naruto's hand, a mixture of the spiritual yin chakra Taizun's seal had been slowly returning, and the yang chakra of the nine-tailed fox. The ball slowly turned into a full blue sphere. What sort of jutsu? Aura release. Aura sphere. Naruto sent the blue ball of chakra flying at Suian, who was sent flying across the link, skipping on it like a tossed stone, before he stabilized. You demon brats. Fu, Haku and Naruto forced themselves up to prepare for battle. You fools think you're a match for me. I have the hero's water. I am invincible. Suian flew at the genin with amazing speed. Ice release. Protective ice dome. Haku formed a dome of ice around the team, which Suian collided into. The impact shook the lake shore, sending ripples cascading from the impact zone. The ice was caked in cracks, but Suian had been forced back. Haku panted. That took a lot of chakra to hold. Aura release. Aura sphere. Naruto charged up another sphere of powerful chakra, before sending it straight at Suian. His aura flared up, as the attack was held back by the chakra shroud. With a roar, Suian jumped into the sky, flying the brats with an intent to destroy. Water release. Water dragon bullet. A water dragon roared up from the lake and flew straight at the three genin. The blast impacted them, sending them skipping across the lake shore, until they exploded into smoke. Shadow clones. Suian gasped before getting smacked harshly from behind by an enraged Fu, before crashing into the lake, the hero's water jug falling into the hands of Naruto and Haku. Fu landed next to them with a grin. Hey, that was actually good teamwork, Naruto and Haku grinned. I think this is a start to a great partnership, However, in a surge of chakra Suian forced himself back up from below the water's surface. I am not done with you fools yet. Naruto did a few rapid hand signs. Summoning jutsu. In a flash of smoke Mr. Ostrich appeared. Oddly, he was standing on the water, like a ninja. You little human, why do you summon me all the way out here? The bird demanded. Fu seemed confused by the talking ostrich. Naruto gave Mr. Ostrich the hero's water. I need you to take this water and get to safety, Mr. Ostrich glared. A game of hide and go seek, boy. Well, it's either this or I get more ribbons on my neck, so shadow clone jutsu. A dozen ostriches formed next to the original before scattering. All the ninja here seemed disturbed. Did he just? I think he did. That is one strong bird, Suian thought. I should capture it, the ice girl, and these jinchuriki. I'd bet I could find a good price for them. Water release. Water tornado. Storm release. Great twister. Naruto and Suian collided with both of their tornado-like jutsu. Meanwhile, most of the AIM shinobi had fled, as the Diva Path continued its fight against Taizun and Shubiki. The problem with the paths, other than their obsessive amounts of piercings, creepy eyes and the amount of chakra they require from their controller, is the fact that they work the best as a full team. It appeared as though only the diva path was present here, as if their master didn't expect too much resistance. That was a mistake. Normally, the Atatsuki work in partners, but oddly the partner of the diva's path controller, Kanan, wasn't present. Perhaps she was back in aim, or again Taki might have been underestimated. Or perhaps, it wasn't Taki that they underestimated, but the unexpected arrival of Taizune. Shinra Tenshi. A orb of gravity stopped a fire bullet and water dragon jutsu straight from Taizune and Shibuki from striking the path of pain, though the path seemed to be quickly weakening. That thing is unreal, Shibuki panted, running low on chakra. Taizune was faring better. Hard to believe there are 6 of them. Let's be glad only one appears to be here. 6 of them. Who are you, and how do you know this? The diva path demanded. Taizune smirked. I am Taizune Uzumaki, the Wanderer, the Remnant, the Seal Sage, the Scroll Master. As to how I know about your tricks, Nagato, wielder of the Rinnegan, descendant of the same clan as myself and our lovely blonde-haired Jinchuriki friend, that is for me to know and you to find out. Wind release. Violent wave palm. Wind release. Hurricane gust. The 2 wind releases collided, releasing a massive explosion that flattened a few nearby huts. The diva path used the explosion to get behind Shibuki, who turned around rapidly. Fire release. Dragon flame jutsu. Water release. Weight dragon bullet. The 2 elemental dragons collided, but the fire dragon somehow overwhelmed the water one, and crashed into Shibuki, who was sent flying into a stall of fish and fell out conscious. Taizune smiled. Truly amazing, that much chakra force in a jutsu. Makes me wish I had the Rinnegan, what Naruto could do with it. Lightning release, wave palm. A lightning version of beast wave palm flew from Taizune's hand towards the path. Fire release. Great fireball technique. The 2 techniques collided with a vengeance. Diva and Taizune gave one another a stare down. You're good, Taizune Uzumaki. Do you wish? No, I'm not joining your little cult. I have issues, serious issues, with the whole murdering Jinchuriki concept, and I don't trust 2 certain members of your group especially. Diva glared. Why do you fight us then? We will bring peace by pain. You caught the pain part, right? The fact is, I believe there is another way to bring forth peace, and I've already made the first plays on that notion. Naruto-kun shall be the one to bring peace, and revive our clan. Diva looked confused. Why not yourself? The truth of the matter is there are reasons I can't. Moral for one thing, and at the same time, aura release, aura sphere. A blast of aura was sent at the path. Shinra Teshi. A orb of gravity blocked the sphere before it was sent back and with it destroyed a cabbage cart. Is that I can't p tricks like that, but with my seal, Naruto-kun can. He, unlike me, needs that power to do what must be done. Quote. I see. So, you stand in our way. Well, Taizune Uzumaki, you shall meet your end by the hands of the 6 paths of pain. Until next time. The path teleported away. Taizune had an anime sweat drop. Cliché much. He turned around to observe the battle with Suion. He smiled. Show me your power, Naruto-kun, Haku-chan, Fu-chan. V's Suion. Water release. Explosion. Air exploded from under Suion, sending him into the air. This guy just wouldn't give up, it was infuriating. Lightning release. Thunder ball. Naruto sent a ball of electricity flying at Suion, who used his aura to reflect it once more, before he was forced to reflect a dozen shuriken from Fu. Water release. Wave impact. Suion crashed down onto the water's surface, sending hundreds of waves streaming towards Fu, Haku and Naruto. The genin jumped out of the way to avoid the impact. Before they got their chance, the aura around Suion was starting to fade. Wind release. Frost wind. From Haku's mouth a frigid wind filled with ice crystals was blown towards Suion with high speed. Aura release. Aura sphere. The blue sphere was tossed into the attack as well. Fu tossed a group of shuriken into the mixture, before letting out. Shadow Shuriken Jutsu. The shuriken multiplied into thousands that surrounded and impacted into Suion, as the other attacks hit, sending him spiraling to the lake. We did it! Naruto cheered as the trio landed on the water's surface, before his eyes widened, as did Fu's and Haku's. Suion dissolved down into water. It was a water clone. Good, but not good enough. Water prison jutsu. With a yelp, the trio were trapped in a water sphere. Suion was grinning evilly. So it ends. You fought well, but prepare to die. He smirked, as did Haku, before she dissolved into water. Suion was shocked. A water clone. Naruto and Fu were grinning now. Ice release. Demonic ice mirrors. 2 mirrors of ice formed around Suion. Haku didn't have enough chakra left to use any more of it. As reflections of her appeared in both, Suion was flabbergasted. How are you doing that? Ice release. Senbon shower. Hundreds of ice senbon flew from Haku's mirrors as she teleported rapidly, impaling themselves into Suion, breaking his control of the water prison, allowing Fu and Naruto to escape, and with a breath of air they were revigorated. Let's end this. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto created 5 shadow clones, before nodding towards Fu. She got the message, and jumped into the air. What the? 1. The original Naruto kicked Suion into the air. 2. A shadow clone headbutted him farther. 3. Another gave him a harsh blow to the stomach. 4. 5. 2 combined themselves for an extreme punch. 6. The last of the clones held onto Suion's limbs, now Fu-san. 7. Fu gave Suion the mother of all drop kicks, sending him crashing towards the water at mad speed. Now Haku. Gotcha. Haku cancelled the mirrors, before using ice release to freeze the surface of the lake into a solid ice block. Suion and the shadow clone holding him collided into the thick ice. The shadow clone exploded into smoke while Suion went limp. Haku collapsed to the water. Her chakra was almost gone, and even Fu and Naruto felt drained, but they did it. With Naruto holding her up, they limped back to shore. On the shore, Taizun was smiling. Well done. Time skip. Hey, what are you doing here? Exclamation mark quote. Naruto demanded. Taizun just shrugged. Shibuki was back up and running, though he was unhappy. Because villagers had caught wind of the fact that the Diva Path had came for their Jinchuriki, they had unanimously voted for her banishment, though Shibuki was able to redefine it into a transfer to Konoha, in exchange for funds to help rebuild, funds from the former Uchiha accounts for sure. Now that the hero's water was safe once again, plans were being made for its increased protection. Hey, I saved Shibuki Dono's life, lay off me would ya? He did. Fu was smiling. Thank you, Taizun-san, for protecting my cousin. I am in your debt. Naruto and Haku gave her a look. Fu-san, this guy is a missing nin, who attacked us for no reason. To give you the Kekkei Genkai, remember? Stole Mr. Ostrich. I was testing you. Caused the Tem to gain all those jutsu from the Chunin, as well as the Chidori. Now Taizun was looking abashed. Hey, that was a mistake, I admit that. What? I'm not perfect. Okay then, what do you want anyway? Taizun chuckled. To stop him. Who him? Taizun reached for a storage scroll in his pocket. You'll find out in time. But, Shibuki Dono, you really need to improve your waterside security, might I suggest. He began pulling out more summoning scrolls from his sealing scroll. More of them, Haku said, shocked. Taezun smiled. You could say I'm a collector of ancient, lost summoning scrolls, and a creator of new ones. Let's see, Chinchilla. No, he tossed the scroll, with a glance, into Naruto's confused hands. Gibbon. No, another scroll. Rabbit. Nah. The scroll landed upright, spun and then collapsed neatly. Squirrel. That's just nuts. The pun came with another tossed scroll. Flamingo. Possibly. He gave a look towards the lake. No, that wouldn't do. I know I have something workable in here. He tossed the scroll to Naruto again. Hey, what's with Road Runner? No, another tossed scroll to the Jinchuriki. Prayer Dog. This one landed a perfect 10 inches mackerel. Might be good for cutting a tree, but they're salt water, so, more for Naruto. Dodo. Nah. Do I have to say it? Loch Ness Monster. Shibuki. You guys do a lot of fishing, right? Shibuki looked a little baffled. In fact, they all were. Yes. Then that wouldn't do. Another scroll was given to Naruto. Now then, beaver. That should do it. He tossed the scroll at the confused village leader. Nature's builders. I'm sure their work wonders here. Shibuki looked at the scroll like it was sacred treasure. And you're just giving me this? Taezun chuckled. Of course, I have a lot of them, and one man can't use 1,000 contracts, so why not give some out? Oh Naruto, you can keep those. He looked shocked. Huh, you're just giving me. Quite so. You see, I have reason to see the Uzumaki revived to their former glory. And artifacts like that are perfect for showing a strong clan. The Sarutobi are famous for their monkey summons, the Sabaku clan of Suna are infamous for their weasel summon, and I can see you having quite a few children, so a few contracts to go around doesn't hurt, no? Oh, while I'm at it, he tossed Naruto one more contract. Have a Tuatara contract. A Tuafuta. Taezun chuckled before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. The nearby ninja sweat dropped. What an odd fellow, Shibuki commented, but, at least he seems to be on our side. You'd best be on your way home, to Fu-chan's new home that is, he smiled. Fu had tears in her eyes. Bye, Shibuki-san. Shibuku smiled sadly. Don't worry, you'll be able to see me again one day, and I'm sure Naruto-kun will make you happy. Naruto blushed as Haku fumed. Fu had a evil grin, before grabbing Naruto's arm. Of course he will, after all, Naruto-kun's mine. Naruto seemed surprised, and Haku was fuming. Kun. Haku grabbed his other arm. No way. Naruto-kun's mine. Mine. Shibuki laughed at Naruto's curse, / good fortune. Depending on how you looked at it. Meanwhile in Konoha, from out of nowhere, a bright light filled an isolated clearing in the forest. The light was coursing with colors, green, blue and reds. In Kumo, listen up brokage, I can see the music of Chunin in my students, and I'm wanting to see them promoted. But the exams ain't fallin' here for a year, but now they're falling in Konoha, so I was wonderin', two massively tall and muscled men, one with 7 swords on his back, shades and a tattoo of a bull horn on his face, the other in robes like the Hokage, but yellow instead of red with a different kanji, were in a meeting. The other man sighed. B. You know quite well that we don't have the best relations with Konoha. The Hyuga alone would be ferocious with them. Don't sweat it bro, the B got it covered, the Raikage sighed. That's why I'm sweating. Okay. What if I send someone else with them? Yugito-chan perhaps. But bro, what's the worst that could happen? The cage glared at his brother, the Hachabi Jinchuriki. Do I even have to answer that? Insuna, a boy with red hair, and a strange gourd on his back was star ng up at the moon from up top a building. The black rings around his eyes and his glare made him appear like the manifestation of terror. Soon mother, I will give you, tasty foreign blood. In Konoha's hot springs, female section. Ah, this is the life, Fu sighed as she sunk into the warm water with a great big grin. Haku also found herself immersed in the water, the only two here as of now, before taking a look at her teammate. To her frustration, her S were a cup bigger than hers. That alone would give her an advantage for getting Naruto, decides her more, revealing clothing. But she was curious about one thing. Fu-san, you have a lot of chakra, right? Fu gave her a curious look. Duh, of course the maggot does, I'm inside of her. So, why only AC? Haku couldn't put this any other way. It was a proven fact, a fact only looked into by perverts, aka Jiraiya, that females with larger chakra reserves had larger S. Tsunade of the Sanin, Mei Temuri of Kurigakure, and Yugito Ni, the Nanbi Jinchuriki, all had large chests thanks to their cage-level chakra reservers, or of course the giant flaming cat demon. Other kunoichi with larger chakra levels, like Anko, Kanan of Akatsuki and Hana Inuzuka, had thus larger chests. It was rumored the same applied to males, though Jiraiya was not one to research it. Shibuki-sama told me that our family are late bloomers, Fu shrugged, and from what I could see from family photos, my mother didn't get anything until she was 15. So, another member for the large-chested family. While in the other end of the spectrum, those with lower chakra reserves, like herself, had smaller chests. That was one reason to work on building them up. And just as she was about to ponder the opposite of Tsunade on the spectrum of chakra levels. What are you whores doing here? One banshee is transgenderias, otherwise called Sakura Haruno, Haruno. The pink-haired creature, with really nothing to cover with her towel, was standing in the doorway to the spring, seething. Did you hear something? Haku asked sarcastically. Fu smirked. Sounded like some fat ugly toad just croaked. No, that was way too obnoxious, maybe someone kicked Tora and he hit a chalkboard his claws. What is filth like you doing in a public hot spring? Shouldn't you be arguing over the baka's noodle? Haku and Fu got evil grins. Now, we could do that, but unlike you, what should we call her? I'd say bitch, but then again that's an insult to bitches. Well, I did read a book about mole rats. Fu commented. That works. Okay then, unlike you mole rat, we don't need to get knocked up anytime soon. Also, our guy is decent, and not down to rape or theft. And Noodle, are you sure you're not going on about the tem you stalk? That got a ticked off mark on Sakura's large forehead. Shut up. Sasuke-kun is 100 times the man the baka is. Billboard brow, would you take your tone down? I think my eardrums are burning. One blonde-haired girl in a purple towel with B-cups a bit larger than Haku's yelled after shoving the pink-haired loser out of the way. This was Ino Yamanaka, the most decent of the Sasuke stalkers, as in the only one with brains, skill, and S. Also on her redeeming quality list was that she was slowly moving out of her fangirl phase, though Haku had still seen prisoners with more flesh than this girl did. But these foreign bitches, a registered ninja, billboard, they are perfectly entitled to their opinions, and what are you doing here? This is hot spring for people who are actually female. Ino leaned into Sakura, moking her with an actual chest. Yours should be down that way. With people more your style, I hear that it's 50% off for boys today. I am a girl. Oh, really? Then why are you 13 and flatter than a pancake? Fu chuckled, as Haku and Ino laughed. Sakura was furious. You just wait. I will have a chest that will flatten yours, flatten that of Tsunade herself. Sasuke will fly to me, and together, we will rule the village, and after we destroy the Baka, you and that cowardly Hyuga will be Sasuke's bitches. She didn't finish her speech, as she was suddenly pushed out the window, into the skeptic tanks below, by a ticked-off blue-haired girl, Hinata Hyuga, in a blue towel. A scream of pure terror was heard seconds later, rippling the water, cracking the walls and causing a 2.0 earthquake, in aim somehow. Hinata-san, it's nice to see you. And thanks for removing that skeeter for us, Ino smiled. Hinata blushed as the two new girls entered the hot spring, their towels on the ground. Haku and Fu scowled internally. Hinata had a chest twice the size of Ino's. Damn, how does a 13-year-old have all of that? Haku grimaced. Hokage's office. A week later. The Sandaime was starting to feel the stress of his old age again. Oh, how he would love to step down, but he didn't have anyone to replace him who had any qualification for the job. Shikaku was too lazy. Kakashi was the same way and reluctant to take the mantle up. Hiashi could possibly do it, but leaving the Hyuga elders to their own devices was something he nor Hiashi wanted to do. Guy. No, anything but that. He didn't want a change in shinobi uniform or teaching style. All he needed was for Naruto to start yelling out, "Flames of youth." He'd almost prefer letting the Kyuubi out than to see that. Well, maybe ladies in those green jumpsuits were a totally different story. But the problem was, the civilian and elder councils just had a stroke of uncharacteristic genius, and the Hokage had barely been able to divert disaster. The problem had been so big, he had barely any time to rewrite his law to include Fu and the Nanabi, to protect her from visiting Taki Ninja, something he sent a message to Shibuki about as well. For years, the councils had been trying to get a shinobi council member on their side. If they had just one more vote over the shinobi, they'd be able to do anything to benefit their goals: increase taxes on shinobi and shinobi goods, exile Naruto, give Sasuke all the females in the village, exile Naruto, gain hidden secrets from the Yondaime, exile Naruto, wage war for the fun of it, exile Naruto. They really wanted to exile Naruto. But luckily, the Shinobi Council was uncorruptible. Well, maybe if they paid for all-you-can-eat meal for the Akamaiki or voted to remove all cats for the Inuzuka, they might have luck, but so far they hadn't tried that. But then, they managed to pull off a new highest by bringing up a vote for a new seat on each of the two respective councils, elders excluded. The shinobi agreed, thinking this was just a method to try to get another obnoxious anti-Naruto voice with them. They had been considering adding a shinobi from one of the newer clans. The Morino were high on the list, and perhaps Guy for Spirit, but they already put the Hag on it. The Haruno was now on the shinobi council. Apparently, the evil old hag had tested herself and her daughter, and found out that their voices had come from some sort of Kekkei Genkai the Haruno had. This mega voice release or something qualified her family as a ninja clan now, and now they could replace her spot on their side with a new anti-Narutotist, and take control. However, the Sandaime had a trick of his own. He nominated his own member for the civilian council, to replace the one Anko killed, Tsuki. As a registered landowner of Konoha, being the administrator of the former Uchiha district, now being repainted as the Uzumaki district, as appointed by Naruto, he could be placed on the council. With that, the balance was the same as before. so Naruto no longer was in immediate danger. However, they still had a loss. The council used the new Haruno Kekkei Genkai to force Kakashi to focus on training Team 7, now with Sai, Sakura and Sasuke, because of the potential danger of the new release, as stated in some bill they had passed years ago. Luckily, the now Team 11, with Naruto, Haku and Fu, were working rather well together. Naruto was getting help on using his Kyuubi powers from Fu and was practicing chakra control with Haku. Fu was getting jutsu practice from both Naruto and Haku was training to increase her chakra reserves with Fu and Naruto. They had recently completed a set of 14D rank missions, thanks in no part to Naruto's shadow clones, Haku's control of chakra, and Fu's strength, which was put into use for destroying boulders. This was to help start up Fu's bank account, and keep Naruto's and Haku's up. They needed it now that they had their own house, the old Yondiame place, and it was amusing to see how they took it. Flashback. Day they returned. Oji-san, why did you drag us up here for anyway? Did the civilian council say I robbed a bank or something? Naruto complained with Fu and Haku next to him. The Sandiame had to admit, they'd probably do that. Of course, he knew quite well Naruto didn't have a hope in hell of doing it, and the fact that Fu and Haku would pound him into next week if he even brought it up. No, they didn't. Though don't give them any ideas. I'm here Naruto, to talk about your heritage. Naruto looked confused. My heritage? Naruto said in confusion. The Sandiame nodded. Yes, originally I had planned to wait until you were a chunin, or the hope that you'd be mature enough to handle it. However, with your lack of housing resulting from the civilian councils, and the oddity of using shinobi residencies, true enough, spending another day in the Inuzuka might be a little risky. After all, Naruto's bed was also in the room of an old Pomeranian that had existed in the clan since its founding, which the clan affectionately nicknamed Old Puffball, or Puffy-san, who disliked Naruto immensely, and barked loudly, stole his shoes and nightcap, and ate his ramen just to annoy him. However, I believe it's time for you to know the truth about who you are. Who I am, Naruto said confused. Fu and Haku seemed interested as well. Naruto-kun, you are the son of Uzumaki Kushina, the last Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox, and the Yondiame. At that, Naruto pulled a Hinata, that is faint. Naruto-kun. 30 minutes later, Naruto blinked, to find himself staring into the faces of Haku and Fu, both with concern. The Sandiame was patiently waiting at his desk, with his Ika book in his hands. After all, since he got Anbu stationed around the roof and did a sweep of his tower, he was certain he was free from spies this time. It's amazing, he found 10 listening jutsu, 8 recording jutsu and 1 remote detonation jutsu. Did they want to kill him if it got worse for their story Naruto agenda? Who? Haku-chan, Fu-chan, Oji-san, I had the strangest dream that I was told the Yondiame was my father. Naruto-kun, that wasn't a dream, Fu brought up. That prompted another feint, and a evil grin on Haku's face. Naruto, wake up, or I'm testing my new ice release ball implosion. I'm up, Naruto said instantly. They chuckled at that. Interesting. Remind me never to get her mad, the Sandiame said to himself, but never mind that. Yes, you are his son, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Naruto seemed to be thinking. Hey, if I'm his son, I can sort of get why I have the fox inside me, the whole noble leader, me being born at the wrong time thing, but why keep it a secret? If I was told to be his son, I'd be about as worshipped as the Tem, and why hasn't anyone ever picked up on our similar looks? I have no idea, though I've wondered if some have guessed that. Kakashi for one probably knows, and I believe that a few of our more open-minded, aware ninja also guessed it, like Maruboshi Kosuke. You mean the 1,000-year genin? Yes, him, and be respectful, that man is Jonin level, he just has his reasons for staying a genin, and I think Shikaku knows it as well as Puffy-san. The evil Pomeriaian. Yes, him. I remember when he first met Minato-kun, the little guy and him hated each other, memories. Back to Naruto-kun. Fu asked. He coughed. Yes, and if you must know why it's not common knowledge, first of all if Iwa got wind of it, they'd hunt you down and kill you for spite. Onoki Dono was never one to forget vendettas, and after what Minato did to them in battle, I think they still mourn that day. Well, at least I have a cool dad. True, and second of all, the council would have used you to not only gain your father's seals and possessions, but also you'd probably be worse than Sasuke, Naruto shivered. Worse than that, yes, he at least had some actual, non-spoiled time in his life. If they had raised you from birth, you'd be much worse, Naruto was seeing the Hokage's point. So, where's his house? The Hokage smiled. It's hidden using powerful seals. Your father had taken several precautions due to Iwa's feelings about him, and his strong stand against the acts of the councils. I'm the first to admit I've given the civilians a bit too much leeway. My attempts to keep peace have only made those fools arrogant, and Minato had reversed several of their policies, like increasing ninja restrictions to weed out fake civilian ninja and fangirls, removing shinobi property taxes, and allowing us ninja to eat cheese again, the Hokage smiled. The genin gave him a strange look. I'm not kidding, they managed to ban cheese from shinobi because they were annoyed at the Akamaiki Pizza Festival for its songs. Well, back on topic, his house is currently only accessible by a hidden kunai mechanism. You all are aware of his famed Flying Thunder God technique, right? They nodded. Well, he kept two kunai hidden, one at his house, the other here. The Hokage removed a different style kunai from his robes, with seal marks and a lighter, flatter blade, for access to his home. However, it only works from my office. Once I can announce it to the public who you are, I have to hold on to his key for security. Only someone with his blood can work it, or Kakashi's, as we found out when we started to renovate the place. So, that's why the man always late. Fu commented. The Hokage laughed. No, actually that occurred after your D ranks. Fu looked disturbed. So Naruto-kun, I'd take it you and your girls want to check out your home. Well, please try to be discreet with it, only do it when you three are alone with me after your missions, and don't do anything you shouldn't. Naruto fainted again, while Fu and Haku chuckled. Flashback ends. The house, as the Hokage had saw, was actually quite the nice place. 3 stories, 9 bedrooms, and enough room to expand. It appeared as though Minato was hoping to restart the Uzumaki clan here. Sadly, that's a bit harder to do when the last of a clan is female. One male can repopulate a clan faster than one female can. The Anbu had done a fine job cleaning the place up, and now with Naruto having his own bed again, with no Pomeranian trying to aggravate him. And he knew quite well that Sasuke, Sakura, and the councils had attempted to follow him, at times even demanding to be shown where they were going. To that, the 3 had laughed, and Haku had actually gotten a chance to test that ice release ball implosion on one of the Chunin that the civilian council had control of. The poor man had gotten memory loss from the pain, and the Hokage, after hearing about it, labeled it a kinjutsu. Naruto had discovered the library of seals, and quickly saw why the Hokage wanted them protected. There were seals that did anything for speed up pancake cooking to creating total sterility. In theory, the council could have a million incentives and punishments at the disposal, that in reality would require little chakra or skill to start, though they would have problems creating them. Naruto didn't. He quickly saw his clan's fabled skills with seals come through. On his own, he created a new anti-Sharingan seal for Fu, and deduced that the six-pronged web seal on Fu's back that locked the Nanabi inside her was a lower grade than his own 8-element seal, about the same level as the iron armor seal. They also got a chance to lock up all the accumulating summoning scrolls. Frankly, while Fu had signed the beetle contract, who worshipped her as princess for having their queen inside her, to Fu's delight, and Haku signed the aligned penguin and rabbit contracts, and had a rather decent relation with both, Naruto had found a note in the Tuatara 1, stating, "Naruto, do not use any of these until you obtain the one of your father from the perverted sage." Whoever this perverted sage was, Naruto would kick his until he gave him that contract. Anything from his father would be nice. At the same time he would find it cool to summon giant squids or the Loch Ness monster, all the things he could prank with some of those guys. But now, the group found themselves awaiting a mission. Naruto-kun, Haku-chan, Fu-chan, it is time to give you a B-rank mission once again. The three of you are to go to the land of the sea to investigate some rumors about Orochimaru being active in the area. Now, I'd send Chunin or Jonin for such a mission, but I think a high-level mission will help make sure you three are prepared for the Chunin exams. At the same time, getting you three out of this town will help lower the council's investigation into your housing, Naruto grinned. On the coast of the Wave Country, at the crack of dawn, sat the great Naruto Bridge. This magnificent bridge, however, was in trouble. A section of the support had fallen off, due to a mistake in construction. This had to be replaced, but the recovering country was having trouble locating cement or stone to fill the hole. So, the hole in the support, the size of a young teenager, was being held up by a peculiar kid, with perhaps the strangest appearance of any Konoha genin. This boy had black hair, shaped like a bowl, and immense eyebrows the size of jumbo pipe cleaners, and huge, wide eyes. To further show off his bizarreness, he had a green jumpsuit, with his hayate as a belt, and orange leg warmers. "Lee, what exactly are you doing?" one of his teammates decided to ask. This genin had brown hair, and pale eyes like Hinata's, but a different shade. He also didn't appear quite as nice, but more like the character of his clan portrayed, a clan of silent people with little emotions and disturbing stares. "Ah yes, Neji, because the support system of this bridge was giving out, I decided it would be a good test of my endurance to hold it up myself. I've been at it for 12 hours straight, and even though I have to use the restroom quite badly, and the fact that I may be hallucinating from thirst and saw a ninja lemur fighting a samurai buffalo, I will not move from my post until Gai-sensei and Tenten return with the supplies." Now, this kind of behavior was sort of over the top, even for his teammate, and his equally weird sensei. "Lee, this bridge weighs over 1,200 tons, and holding your bladder for too long can cause damage to your kidneys. Also, you really should have some water." This Lee briefly removed his arm and gave a thumbs-up smile. "Don't worry, Neji, I shall hold this until Gai-sensei returns, and should I fail in this task, I shall run across the bay to Wave and back again while yodeling." Neji's sweat dropped. Lee had adopted all of his sensei's styles, and that include those strange self-inflicted punishments. And the yodeling, Oddly for the stoic genin, he found himself shivering. This is one of the many reasons he needed a therapist, besides the fact he has emotional trauma for his father's death and a desire to kill his cousin Hinata-sama. Though some liquid refreshment may be most obliged, may I have a sip of your own canteen, mine's empty. Land of the Sea, Seaside Village. Wow. This place is a. Fu started before Naruto interrupted her. Like Wave, the village was a wooden shamble of buildings dotting the sea coast. This place appeared to be quite poor, though not to the point Wave had been when Haku and Naruto had been there. Though there was a lack of hopelessness in the air that Wave had at the time, and a nicer view of the sea. Well, I was going to say dump, but that works too, Fu shrugged. Guys, we aren't here to focus on the economics of this place, we're here to search out Orochimaru or anything else strange, so let's agree to meet up here again in an hour. Try to dig something up, Haku said, being the reasonable amongst the three. Boy, that was sad. Secret underground area of Konoha. So, how has your tenure as a genin been? Danzo asked of his root ninja. He didn't call him by name, as the ninja of root had none, just their code names. In an emotionless face and tone, Sai answered. So far, as you predicted, Team 7 shows signs of dangerous emotional imbalance. Both Sakura-san and Sasuke-san are controlled by their emotions, and prone to rampages should they get frustrated. It is obvious Kakashi-senpai doesn't like teaching them, but is being forced by the councils too. However, that is not to say that Sasuke has no talent, unlike Sakura-san. However, this power has led to arrogance, Danzo sighed. All this talent, from both Sasuke and Naruto, and yet emotions rule them. He also saw potential in Fu, that Hyuga trained by the Green Beast Imbecile Might Guy, and the Aburame child. However, he didn't want to bother with some of the others. The female Hyuga, by all indications, was too weak, the genin who imitated Guy was too weird, and the Inuzuka required a dog to work properly, which would be much too suspicious. That was a large reason as to why there were no Inuzuka en route. Good work. Continue with your tenure. Hi. Danzo turned around and sighed. The village was being ruined, thanks to those idiots on the civilian and elder councils. He also knew the Sandyame, Hiruzen Sarutobi, was to blame for it to a lesser extent. His policies made it far too easy for the councils to influence and force regulations on ninja. They also flooded the ranks with less than trustworthy civilian ninja, and while he had some skilled ones in his route, such as Sai, those outside his system were not versed well enough to be truly effective shinobi. Shinobi either had to be born by shinobi, or taken from their non-shinobi parents, or else they show weakness. Undisputable females were nothing more than temporary fixtures, attaching to shinobi of skill like parasites, like that Haruno that was with the Uchiha. Either that or they lacked the special skills, like that student of Guy's who did nothing but toss weapons like a maniac. One day, when he was Hokage, he would deal with these inadequacies, and fix the flaws of this village's shinobi. No more fangirls, weapon chuckers, or emotionally unstable Jinchuriki. They would all be trained his way. He'd remove their emotions, and train them to be perfect shinobi. No anger, no jealousy, and none of that love mush. Children shouldn't be born because the parents liked one another, they should be born by the right combination of genetics. For example, crossbreeding one of the Jinchuriki and a Hyuga, in theory could create offspring with the special chakra of a Jinchuriki inside the Hyuga. With that, the gentle fist could permanently burn a person's chakra point, making the gentle fist even more potent. And he would enforce a dress code. Ninja whose dress was indecent, like Anko's net suit or the jumpsuit of Guy and his spawn, and while he was at it, he'd shave their eyebrows. Those things weren't natural. Back to Wave. Naruto was having no luck at all. No one here had even heard the name, Orochimaru. Most shinobi who heard that name cringed or heard it in bingo books, but of course, they had to be in Civilian Central. All the ignorance, and then some with no shinobi help. Speaking of ignorance, get out here. Naruto turned around to see a girl about his age, with black hair and a blue dress, who was covered in bandages, shoved out a fruit market, Ryo coins and dollars being tossed out with her. You monster. Now that was a low blow. Naruto had seen enough of that for himself when people in Konoha treated him like that, and Fu had described having similar treatment in Taki, but why here? No one here could even explain the basics of seals, nonetheless seal a bu into someone, so this person couldn't be a Jinchuriki. Naruto, of course being a good person, went to help her up. You okay? He asked. The girl gazed at him with black eyes, before pushing herself up. Yeah, I'm fine, she said with no emotion. Naruto looked at the market. So, I could get your groceries, for you if you want. The girl glared at him with distrust evident in her eyes. No, that won't be necessary. She ran from him. Naruto turned to follow, before he sensed Fu and Haku appeared behind him. He turned to see their gazes burrowing into high. So, you have any luck? He asked. They sighed. None whatever. Me neither, but Naruto-kun, who was that girl? Fu demanded. Naruto shrugged. I don't know, but the strangest thing is, they called her a demon and kicked her out of a store despite having money on her. Sound familiar? Fu and Haku exchanged confused glances. Sure, it's just like home, Fu scowled, but why would there be a Jinchuriki here? Haku held her chin for a moment. If she was a Jinchuriki at all. Though, she definitely is being treated like one. I think we should try following her. Fu and Naruto looked at her in confusion. I mean, Orochimaru is rumored to be around, and this girl is oddly hated, perhaps it might be connected. Fu nodded, but turned towards Naruto. But this doesn't mean you can go on a date with her. Naruto gave her a confused look. Huh, because I'm taking you out first. Haku now looked ticked. No, I will. Girls. Mission. Oh, right. A short pursuit later. Naruto and the girls followed Isaribi a ways away, finding themselves on a deserted beach. Oddly, her tracks ended here. Odd. Wonder if she took to the water to throw us off. Haku pondered. But she didn't know she was being followed, Naruto pointed out. So what reason would she have to hide her tracks? The villagers, perhaps. Naruto growled at their mentioning. Treating someone like that, you know I'm tempted to just destroy the place with a few shadow clones and a couple of twisters, Fu grinned. Got room for me. Haku decided to intercept the arson planning. Guys, we have a mission, and burning a village isn't in our job description. Earth release. 3-limb binds. From out of nowhere, binds of solid earth rose from the sand, restraining Naruto, Fu and Haku's feet in one of theirs hands. In vain they tried to break free of the Ethan bounds. Oh, I'm sorry you dead last fox, but you have no hope of escaping my fox trap, or this. A voice laughed, as a Fuma shuriken flew from out of nowhere and straight at Naruto. Summoning Jutsu, Shirudorabito. Haku yelled out before doing one-handed hand seals. In a pofo of smoke, a white rabbit with oddly long ears appeared in the battle. With a spin of its ears, the rabbit found itself spinning like a ultimate shield, and with it knocked the Fuma shuriken off its course and into the surf. The rabbit vanished soon after. So, You have a few vixen whores now, fox. The voice rang out again. Naruto's eye widened, he knew the voice. Mizuki Tem. A voice laughed. So, the dead last demon actually can use its brain. From out of nowhere, a blue-haired man in a black muscle shirt with slight insanity in his eyes appeared and laughed. Wait, you're the Tem who tried to kill Naruto-kun. Haku had heard the stories. Mizuki laughed. Oh, this is priceless. How does a idiot freak like you get any sort of company that wasn't from pity or spite? Genjustu. But wait, you can't. I made sure of that. He laughed. The three glared at him. Ice release. Ball implosion. Mizuki laughed. Oh, you're that ice bitch I've been hearing about. And if you're talking about that little trick that this monster probably taught you, it's no use, that demon beat me to a point my balls were busted. For that I will kill you. Fu growled. She had enough s like this back at her old village, though the insanity was a nice touch. Earth release. Shattering earth. He smashed his palm into the ground, as a giant crack began opening up in the sand, linking with the ocean, and thus the three found themselves tumbling into the surf below. Ice release. Ice dome. Haku formed a ice shield to protect them from sinking, hopefully. Stupid rock bind. You won't get away that easy, bitches. Meanwhile on Demon Island. So, you're the new recruit that Orochimaru-sama sent to inspect my operations, Well, make yourself at home. Amachi, the short, graying man who was in charge of this facility, was interrupted by the following colorful sentence. So, this cave of crap is your home, trash. Well, your bitch of a mother must be so proud. This voice belonged to a fiery red-haired kunoichi in pale brown, white clothing with a strange purple tubal-like belt. Her brown eyes had a look that clearly said, I don't want to be here. So, I see Sakin-kun's warning about your language was accurate, to Yuya-chan. Don't call me Chan you limp ed gayar. Orochimaru-sama has a order for you, so do it. She gave him a official-looking letter, apparently begrudgingly. He grinned. Interesting, very interesting. A fertility stimulant. Trying to get a little one. Yuya was many things, the swear queen of the sound, the demonic flutist, but she was in an unusually poor mood. The redhead, besides not really wanting to be here at all, was in a poor mood because of her leader's orders. Of course, it wasn't like she'd even really liked the pedophilic snake anyway. Of the members of the Sound Four, she was the only one who didn't come to him on their own. She didn't want power, fame, or sought out powerful chakra to eat. The pale bastard had attacked the village she'd lived in 6 years ago, when she was just 8 years ago. A member of the Mafu clan, a clan of demon summoners from the land of demons, the Mafu were the only ones in possession of a demon summoning contract, for the race of Doki. Because of their potential to possibly control demons, like the tailed beasts, Orochimaru and a strange hunchbacked man, both of them wearing black cloaks with red clouds, came out of nowhere and sought out their secrets. The clan had fought bravely, but they all were slaughtered. All but her, of course. But she'd had been told to run by her mother, and missed the wrath of the attack. But she ended up as an orphan, living in the streets of a city in the land of swamps for 3 years, until the bastard found her and took her with him. She recognized him, though, and tried to run. But the bastard bit her on her neck, and forced on her a curse seal. The damn thing hurt for 5 agonizing days, with no ability to sleep, relax, or even really to think. And while she did enjoy the power it gave her, it was also the instrument of her enslavement. The cursed seal she'd been given was slightly different than the other seals of the Sound Four. Jirobo's was designed more for his taijutsu, Kitamaru's was designed to increase his accuracy with the third eye, and Sakin and Ukin's was designed to coexist with their fusion Kekkei Genkai. What hers was a slave collar. The cursed seal's added effect was to restrain her free will whenever Orochimaru ordered her to do something. Luckily for her, the pedophile appeared to be gay, so he didn't rape her using his power. Instead he ordered her to obtain fertility booster from Amachi, so she could carry the Uchiha's child. The pedophile had his eyes on the young Uchiha, last scion of the Sharingan that he had any hope of obtaining. Madara was too powerful to take, Itachi was protected by the Akatsuki, and Kakashi wouldn't work. He need both of his new eyes for the Sharingan he wanted. He planned to lure the boy to him, by using the power of the cursed seal. The boy was obsessed with gaining power, and Orochimaru could easily show that he could give him it. Of course, the bastard would just possess him and obtain his Kekkei Genkai for his own purposes. However, the pedophile was no idiot. He knew quite well that he wouldn't retain the Sharingan after he would have to eventually go to another body. So that's where she came in. She, a sound genin named Kin, and several others were to be used to breed a new clan of Uchiha in Odogakure, a clan who'd be conditioned from birth to be able and begging to allow Orochimaru to possess them. Their spy, Kabuto, had reported the genins arrogant and perverted Demonor. The kid would rape them without restraint. And because of this damn fertility drug she was forced to get, the kid would have no problem conceiving a new generation. With a sigh, she followed the man into the main laboratory. On the shore of Demon Island. Finally, land. Naruto collapsed onto the beach, kissing the ground. Fu and Haku seemed relieved as well. Because of that Mizuki, the three of them had been knocked into the sea in the ice dome, and had been set adrift by the current. It had been a grueling 6 hours, locked up, freezing in the ice dome, and unable to use the bathroom. Speaking of, after a few bathroom breaks, Naruto, Fu and Haku decided to get serious. Okay, this must be one of the islands, so let's see if we can find a village or something and get off this place, Haku surmised. Naruto and Fu nodded in agreement. You know, I wonder if this is the island that girl came from, Naruto asked. Fu and Haku gave him a look. What? I can't be curious. Haku shook her head. Sorry, I guess I might be a little paranoid, she apologized. Fu though still seemed annoyed. Though that was understandable, she was a little more protective of him than Haku was, though she was getting better. Picking up a rock in her hand, Fu shrugged. Okay, maybe I am, I guess, but if that girl makes any sort of move, I'm going to. She crushed the rock in her bare hands, a clear enough message. Naruto nervously nodded, before turning in the direction of the sinking sun, and spotted something green rise from the water near a body of rocks. Hey, what the hell is that? Naruto yelled. The green thing looked at him, before it ran into the rock body, and passed through it. Naruto, Fu and Haku blinked. I think we should check that out, Fu commented. You think? Inside the lab. So, what the air you doing in here anyway? Tayuya said with a disgusted tone, seeing all the bodies suspended in green liquid that reminded her disgustingly of pickle juice. Amachi grinned. This is where the magic of progress is made. With everything here, I can create anything, a spider that breathes fire, a rat capable of chewing through steel, or even entirely new Kekkei Genkai. Tayuya rose an eyebrow. New Kekkei Genkai. Yes, I'm sure you've heard of my progress in creating the ultimate water Kekkei Genkai, allowing one with the ability to breathe underwater, withstand thousands of pounds of water pressure, and increase their overall strength and resilience tenfold. My prototype is already a brilliant success. She's already managed to single-handedly destroy 5 ships, and has brought me plenty of supplies for my continued research, food, and even a PlayStation. Yuya gave him a look. What? Even a evil scientist likes a bit of Guitar Hero once in a while. I also wanted to test her mental abilities, and I'm proud to say her mental skills haven't decreased due to the experimentation. He heard a running noise, and turned around, as did Yuya. Running in was the girl that Naruto had tried to help earlier, but her bandages were gone, revealing that the areas covered by the bandages were coated in green scales. This was what he did, and to a child at that. At least their curse marks could be hidden discreetly. Yuya felt a little sick. This guy may just be worse than the pedophile that controlled her. Ah, my brilliant success, how was the swim? Amachi asked. Any interesting occurrences, any defects? I must know Isarabi-chan. The girl looked down. It was good, no problems. Is something the matter? You do realize, if you don't do as I say, I won't turn you back to normal once the experiment is completed. Yuya glared at him. She knew quite well from Orochimaru's experiments that this sort of thing wasn't reversible. This creep was just using her, like some disposable kunai. If only Orochimaru hadn't ordered her to get the fertility drugs from this guy, then she'd push him off a cliff. Of course, once he gave them to her, she could always push him off the cliff. Nothing in her orders against that. Well, when I came up on the island, there were 3 others on the island. Amachi seemed interested. 3 others. On the island? He reached for an earpiece in his left ear. Yes, Mizuki-kun, we have intruders, deal with them would you? Yes, of course you have to. I let you out after all. In the cave, Naruto, Fu and Haku walked through the dimly lit caves of this unknown facility. Nervously, Haku's hand found its way to Naruto's, and Fu, not being undone, grabbed his other. You know I have to give this place credit, the evil rating is quite impressive, Fu nervously chuckled. All that's needed is the monster and a bit of evil laughter. Fu-chan, that sounds a little cliché, Dadbyo, Naruto mumbled. Then from out of nowhere, a dark shape flew down the corridor, a Fuma shuriken. Hit the ground. The team dropped to the ground as the shuriken passed over them and hit the ground. An evil chorus of laughs permeated the air. Well, there's the evil laughter you wanted, Haku commented, as Mizuki became visible in the dim murk of the cave. Well, if it isn't the fox and his vixens. I was hoping you'd survive, because if you were just crushed by rocks, that wouldn't be nearly as much fun. Instead, why not draw it out, as you squirm in agony? Oh really, Tem. This time, things are going to be different. You don't have the drop on us like last time, and I beat you as an academy student, I can sure as hell do it now. Mizuki glared in fury. You surprised me that time, but this time, you're going to die. He drew another Fuma shuriken and sent it flying. Shadow Shuriken Jutsu. The single Fuma began a swarm of 30 of the deadly weapons, all flying at the genin. Wind release. Frosty wind. Haku took a deep breath, before a gust of wind flew at the shuriken, blowing them off their trajectory and hitting the ground before the duplicates vanished in puffs of smoke. Damn whore. Mizuki growled before doing a few hand signs. Earth release, sinkhole. A sinkhole of spiraling earth formed at the trio's feet, slowly pulling them down. The trio attempted to break out, before they grinned. Ha ha. They made a few faces at Mizuki before exploding into smoke. Shadow clones. Damn right idiot. Fu smashed into him with a ferocious kick, sending him into the wall, breaking the wall in the process. With a groan, he forced himself out. You little fox whores, can't beat me. He laughed. Earth style, 3 limbs bind. Fu, Haku and Naruto found themselves bound by the earth once again. Hey, let us out. Naruto cried out. Sorry, but no can do fox. This time, I'm going to make sure you stay dead. Mizuki grinned as via puffs of smoke, dozens of exploding tags appeared on the walls around them. With these delayed bombs, I'll be able to get away, while you 3 are blasted all the way to hell. So, any last words, Fox Demon? Naruto smirked. Just one. Fu now. Earth release. Earth-style wall. The broken wall that Mizuki had planned to escape from was blocked by a new wall of earth, adorned with petals. Then with a laugh, Fu, Haku and Naruto exploded into smoke. More shadow clones. Them. The bombs went off, engulfing the room in fire. From behind the wall, the genin sighed. Well, he's dead, Fu commented. No way in hell anyone could survive all of that. Now, let's find the green thing. In the laboratory, a explosion shook the lab, startling Isaribi, Tayuya and Amachi. The scientist smiled. So, it appears that Mizuki-kun has taken care of our little intruders, Isarabi huffed. That man, if you ask me, it's more likely he blew himself up. The idiot, Amachi smiled madly. Quite possible as well, my dear. But no matter, I believe it is time you go, my dear Tayuya-chan. Aing told you not to. Tayuya was cut off as from out of nowhere. Streams of water rose up from the nearby ocean and restrained the furious redhead, as a huge M rose from the water. The evil doctor grinned. What in hell are you doing, you bastard? Tayuya yelled, before she started writhing in pain. He laughed as Isarabi cringed. This, my dear, is my Yumibozu, my ultimate creation. My indestructible monster. And, now it's absorbing information on that little curse mark of yours. Be free to give your last words now, I still haven't worked out the sound defect in him, Tayuya growled. That baka you work under thought he could cut off funding for my work, Well, now I'm going to take his work, and use it to destroy him. Then, with Yumibozu and my future masterpieces, I shall take over the sea and rule as the first marine emperor. Tayuya looked furious. Oh Kami, if I have to be screwed by some evil bastard, can't at least it be a bastard with ambition? Ah, you foolish little girl, the sea is everything. Few can truly control it, but from it, one gains gold, silver, iron. With my future minions, I will mine the sea's riches, with the foolish ninja of even Kiri unable to stop me, until it's too late and I invade the land. And unlike the land, I can attack anywhere without warning. First I can strike the land of sound, then the land of fire, and then the land of lightning. As you can see, the sea is endless possibility. But first, Yumibozu needs 2 full meals to reach its true power. He turned his head, like an evil owl, towards Isaribi. Her eyes widened. No, you promised. Yeah, I lied. A stream of water from Yumibozu grabbed Isarabi, before sucking her in. Struggling to get free, Isarabi found herself transforming. Green scales covered her body as fins grew on her hands. Tayuya's eyes were wide. You sick bastard. You'd do that to a innocent girl. Amachi laughed. Of course I would. I needed a test subject, and she was all I needed. Suddenly, his cloth started to rip, as the old man was replaced by an upright, bluish-green creature like Isarabi. To perfect my ultimate form. Behold, the face that will become the first marine emperor. Aura release. Aura sphere. A blue sphere flew from the shadows and struck Amachi, sending him into the wall. Naruto, Fu and Haku burst out, panting. Wow, that maze of a hallway system has a lot of dead ends, Haku panted. Naruto forced himself to breathe normally, before looking up at Isaribi. So, that's why people call you a monster, Isarabi looked down. You know, I don't see it, Isarabi looked up at him with tears in her eyes. But look at me, I'm a freak, a monster. She sighed. Naruto shook his head. Trust me, I've seen much worse than you. Interesting, a Jinchuriki, and the Kyuubi's one at that. Amachi forced himself up from his place of impact. You make fine food for my Yumibozu. Devour them, and steal their strength. The giant water behemoth roared and sent tendrils of water to capture Fu, Haku and Naruto. Storm release. Great twister. Naruto formed a twister that struck the tendrils and sucked them up. Storm release. Water spout. Now a water spout, the twister struck Yumibozu in the heart, causing it to fall. Isaribi and Tayuya hit the ground, and panted for air. Naruto ended his jutsu and landed the ground. You saved me. But you don't even know me, Isaribi said in confusion. Naruto smiled. It doesn't matter who, I'm not going to allow anyone to be eaten by that giant blob, Fishy-san, Isaribi blushed. Fu and Haku growled. While they knew that wasn't flirting, just the fact that Naruto didn't know the girl's name, they didn't need any more competition than what they'd get from Hinata. But then Haku's eyes went wide. Ice release. Ice dome. A dome of ice surrounded Isaribi, Tayuya and Naruto, as Yumibozu reformed and smashed down on them. You fools, you can't destroy Umibozu unless you evaporate the sea itself, it is immortal. Amachi charged into the fray. Thus, my dynasty will be immortal. Own with hot springs. Taizun was in a coffee shop, sipping a cup of decaf. On the other side of his table sat a tall, red-headed lady. She was wearing a black tank top, think a black version of Sakura's Shippuden wear, and shorts, with fishnet armor covering her arms and legs. The lady was smirking evilly. Ah, so it appears our little Naruto has just found himself a few new ladies. He's such a player, don't you agree, Taizun-kun? Taizun sighed. I think we both know it's not that, Fluffy-chan. Don't call me that. Our young heir to my clan isn't doing anything to attract girls, except being himself. It is well known that a caring guy like Naruto-kun will naturally attract females, the seal just speeds the process up. But really, Tycoon, you could have let me add a bit more to the seal formation. The girl who Taizun had called Fluffy whined. He sighed. You have no skills with seals, Fluffy. What did I say about calling me that? The seal you wanted to add would cause any female who's fertile to swarm him. A more minor pheromone booster is much more decent. It only increases his attraction as viewed by compatible females. Of course it is, I was the one to decide which females would be the best to set our little Naruto with, who'd most likely return the